What if the sun disappears? Tring tring, the alarm bell rang. It was 7 o'clock in the morning. Bunty turned off the alarm and reluctantly got out of bed. Rubbing his eyes, he walked to the window. He pulled back the curtain, but it was dark outside. Lights were on in every house as if it was still night. Outside, people were saying that the sun won't be rising henceforth. Everyone was worried except Chintu, Piku, and Tinku. Wow! Piku exclaimed. No school now, no homework either. This is going to be so much fun. Bunty joined in the excitement, but soon he began to feel cold. He quickly moved towards the heater, but in his haste, tripped and fell with a loud thud. When he opened his eyes, he found himself on the floor. His blanket had slipped off and a cold breeze was coming in through the window. Oh, thank goodness, it was just a dream, Bunty thought to himself. But what would actually happen if the sun disappeared? The question left him restless. As soon as he reached school, he asked this question to his teacher. The teacher was a bit surprised. No one had ever asked such a question before. Good question, Bunty, the teacher said, and began discussing this thought-provoking question with the class. The children tried to find answers, and the teacher built upon their thoughts. Bunty remembered reading about how we get energy from the sun. The sun is the biggest source of energy for our earth and provides us with heat and light energy. We can see things around us because of light, while thermal energy means heat keeps the earth warm, which is essential for life on earth. The sun heats up the air, due to which wind blows and wind energy is obtained. Winds are also one of the factors that cause change of seasons. The sun's heat melts the ice on mountains like the Himalayas, feeding rivers with water. The heat from the sun causes water from rivers, lakes, and oceans to evaporate and form clouds. These clouds bring rain, filling rivers and lakes. And this is called the water cycle, which also depends on the sun. Without the sun, water would freeze, rivers wouldn't flow, and no electricity could be generated through dams. The teacher continued, "Did you know that sunlight also helps plants to produce their food? The process is called photosynthesis. Plants not only make food for themselves but also for other living beings. The food produced by plants is one of the main energy sources for us and many other living beings. And the most important part, during photosynthesis, plants release oxygen, which we need to breathe. Now imagine what would happen if the sun disappeared. Plants would die, food production would stop, and there would be no oxygen. Life on Earth would also die out without oxygen and food." Bunty asked, "Does the sun provide energy in other ways too?" The teacher pointed to the solar light outside the classroom and said, "Absolutely. Solar panels use sunlight to generate electricity. Even the fuels we use, like coal and petrol, owe their existence to the sun." "How is that possible? They come from underground," Piku asked in astonishment. The teacher smiled and replied, "You're right, Piku, but millions of years ago, plants and animals that grew with the help of sunlight died and got buried under the earth's surface. Over millions of years, they transformed into coal and petroleum. So we can say that the energy we get from these fuels actually originates from the sun." The teacher added, "Tiny sea creatures like phytoplankton use sunlight to prepare their food." These tiny organisms are the primary source of food for marine life, keeping the entire aquatic ecosystem alive. Finally, the teacher answered Bunty's question directly. If the sun were to disappear, darkness would engulf the earth. The cold would intensify and eventually all water would freeze. Without water, sunlight, and oxygen, plants and animals would perish. There would be no seasons or winds, and life on earth would come to an end. But think on this too. Are there any other life forms that can survive even without the sun? Now it's clear that the sun is incredibly vital for Earth. It is the primary source of energy for all life on Earth. That's why, when the first ray of sunlight touches your face, don't forget to say, "Thank you, sun." With that, the teacher walked out and Bunty silently thanked the sun.